breath for Jason Goad.
Thank you, Aaron. One more time for Aaron Engel, everybody. It's nice to see you guys. I'm Jason. I'm a person who grew up with a weird upbringing because my parents were hippies. I don't know if there's anything about me that might give that away. The big hippies, my parents. My parents had this weird idea that they wanted me to learn about life at an early age. So the way they did that is they would show me something completely age inappropriate and then want to have a conversation about it. They gave me a copy of The Joy of Sex for my 12th birthday. They didn't even wrap it. I came home from school and it was on my bed. It was open to a picture of the clitoris. I think my mom did that. It's nice that she wanted me to learn, but it felt a little judgy. It's like she was saying, honey, your father and I haven't figured out if you're going to grow up to be very handsome yet. So we think you're going to need to know a few things. I catch them fucking all the time. Like more times than you want to catch your parents fucking. And in case you want hard data, that number is 0. 0 times I would come home and be like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then go, well, you know we don't believe in Jesus in this house. I was like, yeah, but... they're like, well, we thought you were going to be at Joe's this weekend. And I said, well, Joe got sick and I had to come home early. Could you please at least cover up? My mom would say, well, this is what couples in love do. And I said, yes, but you are in the backyard. My parents grew and sold their own weed, and they were okay with taking stolen merchandise for it. I grew up in a house that had 1 TV and 9 cable boxes. And the first time I ever saw a picture of Jesus, I thought he was the Zigzag Man. This is pretty much the result you get right here. Drink it in. So I did grow up in a house with 1 TV and 9 cable boxes, but my parents also weren't that great at trading stolen merchandise for weed, because I also grew up in a house that had a crystal ball, you know, for summoning the spirits. And it wasn't even a very good crystal ball either. It would not sit on its stand because one of the dragons was broken. And this is pretty much the result you get. This is what happens when you're raised by not 1 but 2 people who thought it was a good idea to trade weed for a waterbed. Is that I end up looking like a wizard that you would summon if you needed help hot wiring a car. I am a 45-year-old man that owns throwing stars, and I once went to a white trash theme party where my costume was just clothes I already owned. Basically what I'm trying to tell you guys is I'm a dude that dudes with face tattoos think is their friend. I don't know what it is about this face, but people seem to think it's safe to be shitty around it. I've had complete strangers come up to me and tell me about entire episodes of Sons of Anarchy. And worse than that, I always get the dude looking for someone to be racist with. Which isn't totally all bad, because I now have a new life skill, and that life skill is I know when I need to be somewhere else very fast. Because I can tell from 3 blocks away when a neighborhood crazy with a cat on his shoulder looks like he needs to enthusiastically share a racial slur with me because he thinks I might cook meth. And I cannot even stand near the door of a bar without people just handing me their ID. Some of the words I've said to women more than any other are, I'm sorry, I'm not following you. I live this way too. I get it. I seem like I own a sword. Like, and not only that, but like, I get it. I've got this beard. There's tattoos under this shirt. I have tattoos under here, which is what it would look like if you put tattoos on ice cream and then dropped it at the zoo. And the way I look also kind of fucks up my dating life too. I'm not here to bitch about that, but I will let you know that I am a reader. My parents raised a reader. And I love to read shit about true crime, and a consequence of that is I know a lot of creepy shit. And sometimes I share that knowledge without ever being prompted. Now, we all agree that an authoritatively creepy statement should not just come rocketing out of his face. Because I probably own a weird pet. You know, like the pet that you have to feed other pets to. You know, hey, baby, you want to come back to my place and watch me feed rats to my monitor lizard? But I was on a date with a woman about 3 months ago, and as a joke, she said, "Oh, I'm so tired. I wish someone would just chloroform me." And without thinking, I said, "That doesn't work how it does in the movies." And I didn't even stop myself either. I'm like, yeah, chloroform's not like a one-to-one thing with nitrous oxide. It's more like ether. You have to keep applying it and putting it on her face, and applying it and putting it on her face, and applying it and putting it. It's like sometimes it takes 10, 12 doses, and she might never even go out. You know what else they do wrong in the movies? When they cut somebody's throat, they always pull the head back. That's not a good way to do that. When you pull your head back like that, the muscle and sinew in there becomes like cables, and you have to saw a lot. Your knife might never get a good purchase. The better way is to go forward and go straight in from the side and cut right out through the bleed. Hey, where are you going? And I have this other weird thing where I have like a lot of like knowledge, and if I hear somebody being wrong about something, I have this urge to interject and correct them, and mostly it's like bullshit that only I care about. Like I'll be like, hey, technically what you're talking about is not death metal, it is black metal. Death metal is more about technical proficiency of playing, whereas black metal is about tremolo picking, blast beats, and emotional singing. Mostly it's that, but sometimes I'll hear somebody being wrong about something creepy, and that's when I really have to stifle. Because I heard somebody talking about Kevin Spacey the other day, and they call him a pedophile, and that is inaccurate. Kevin Spacey was trying to fuck on teenagers. That is a completely different mental disorder. But you can't just jump in and tell them, I'm sorry, technically Kevin Spacey isn't a phebophile, not a pedophile. Pedophiles are into prepubescence. Ephebophiles are into postpubescence. I'm not saying it's not also creepy, I'm just saying it's different. I'm sorry, I have bad knowledge. You can't slide that into a stranger's conversation without sounding like you have a dog in the fight, right? Like you're preparing some strangers to hear some hard truths about yourself. You can't do that. Or you could say like, oh, technically the charge for spitting on somebody isn't assault, it's battery. Assault has a premeditated threat attached to it, whereas spitting on someone is usually spontaneous, and without that premeditated threat, it is not assault, it is just battery. And you say that, you sound like you have some first-hand knowledge. When I do that too, I gotta like really push it down deep, like I start breaking a sweat. Like that, like keeping from saying that shit is like my ab workout, you guys. And as you notice, it's not doing so well. I like to drink, I drink a lot and I'm good at it. Which means I know what bars are open at 6 a.m. and I only wake up outside sometimes. A lot of people think they drink a lot, but a lot of people have never had 3 hangovers in one day. People think they drink a lot, but a lot of people have never had the pregame to go to the airport. I was just going to pick someone up. Round of applause if you've ever crushed a 40 dog in the cell phone lot. No, just me. That's what I figured. You don't drink a lot unless you're a childless adult that knows what Pedialyte tastes like. And that date I was on, that was in one of those bars that pretends to be a speakeasy. Have you been to one of those joints? Anyone? Yeah, fuck those places. I'm tired, I'm done with them. First of all, if you don't have a license, you're not a speakeasy. Let's define what a speakeasy was. A speakeasy definitely was not a kitschy environment where tech workers would go to crawl behind a repurposed bookshelf in order to pay too much money for an old-fashioned made out of oranges they grow on the fucking roof. A speakeasy was a hellhole of a basement where poor people would just drink antifreeze out of a bathtub until they were paralyzed. If you leave a bar and you don't have a limp, you are not at a speakeasy. But I started thinking, Washington State here, we've legalized marijuana, and if we can have those phony baloney speakeasies, I think what they should start doing is they should start opening up pot shops that recreate the experience of buying weed in a sketchy situation. Like a haunted house. people need to know. Because look, if you're of a certain age, like if you started smoking weed after the Twin Towers fell, you've never bought loose joints off the ice cream man. And you've certainly never had a seed blow up in your eye. Young people need to know. Young people need to know what kind of horror we used to have to put ourselves through if we wanted to be comfortably high on a Friday night. I remember when my only option was to ride around town on a city bus and hope I saw someone who looked guilty. Most of the time, I had to buy weed by getting into a car with a stranger. Like, my parents were pretty permissive, but they had at least one rule, and that rule was don't get into a car with a stranger. I did it a lot. I had to take a ride in a shit brown Ford LTD with a dude who looked like Charles Manson, who I met 10 minutes ago in the parking lot of a roller rink, just on the off chance that there was weed at the end of this story. Plus now, party stories are going to get real weird too, right? So I'm going to be at a party one of these days and I'm going to turn to a kid next to me and I'm going to be like, hey man, one time I had to help push a Camaro out of a ditch so we could go buy weed from an Indian dude named Jer Bear. How about you? And that kid's going to go, I went to a clean and well-lit place of business and I bought Alaska Thunderfuck with my mom's Visa card. And we're also going to end up like, people think it's going to be rainbows and shit. I don't think so. I think we're going to lose some life skills. Fight or flight response is going to disappear. We're going to be a whole nation of like fatsos floating around in those chairs from Wall-E doing dabs. And we're going to be like, well, however did it come to this? And we're going to go, oh, right, this is because we no longer have to know how to jump over a fence to get away from a motherfucker with a teardrop tattoo and a butterfly knife. You remember butterfly knives, right? The old school fidget spinner? Thanks, you guys. That's my time.